Yo, what it do, guys? It is your boy, Leon Mookie here, back with you with another new chapter for you guys of my DxD Academia. And once again, thanks a lot for all the love you guys have shown me. I really appreciate it. I'm just letting you guys know this now. When I go through that of Izuku's, past life chapters, which this one and the next one, I'm going to be taking a break from this story. Not because I don't want to, mainly because I just need to. So I can try and do other My Hero Academia / High School DxD fix as well. The ones that I'm actually pretty interested in doing, to be honest. Because remember, this was a subscriber special. A special for you guys, my fans, my loyal subscribers. For that, I'm thankful for all of that. But now it's time for me to get back to what I love the most. Any rate, let's go through that. Have a quick recap. After defeating that of Rainer with one single solitary punch, he begins to, remember and tell the story on how he became the White Dragon Emperor he is now, as he was just basically a weak, timid, and shy kid who just wanted to help people and protect those who can't protect themselves. There, as a kid, he met a girl by the name of Irina, before she moved away. Also then, his life began to change for that of the worst, being bullied by his former childhood friend, Katsuki Bakugo, because of his inferiority complex after all, believing he has to be always the best. But it wasn't all bad, as Izuku basically became friends with that of his junior high's, iconic pervert, Eika Kiryu, where she basically becomes that of a friend and guardian to our nerdy Greenette through his earlier years at Aldera. Not only that, he's also a huge comic book nerd too. Instead of liking anime or that of other Japanese media, he prefers watching that of cartoons and mainly reading that of superhero comics. Wanting to be a hero just like the heroes on the pages, after all. Until he runs into that of a stray devil that was planning to eat one of his bullies, ends up saving the bully until he runs away. During that time, Izuku begins to meet with that of his sacred gear, dividing, and the spirit that dwells within inside of it, Albion, the white dragon of supremacy, where Izuku awakens the Longinus sacred gear and defeats the Sledge Devil. And there he meets that of Azazel. And this is where his training begins. So, with all that said, let's get into this, shall we, guys? Chapter 2, Training Days. Back with the present, Izuku lowers down to the ground and seeing in the crater, as making sure that Rainer is still breathing, she actually grunts for a little bit before coughing up a little bit of blood, as then Izuku begins to freak out saying, "Oh no, I didn't mean to hurt her that much. I only used that of 10% of my power and only that of 2% of your power, Albion." Oh man. Within Albion saying, "You never change, Izuku. Never change. Don't worry, she's not dead. You might have basically broke a few bones and maybe ruptured at least some organs, but nothing too major. And remember, fallen angels are tough, even the grunts like her. I thought training with that damn perverted crow, Azazel, would have taught you that." As hearing the name of Azazel, Izuku couldn't help but remember saying, "Yeah, Azazel. I'm really thankful for him." As he soon goes back into that of a memory, with going back to the day that he first met Azazel, as it was the day that he introduced him to the supernatural and everything that holds within it. Since then, back about that of 2 years ago, in a penthouse apartment in Kuo, being Azazel's residence, temporary residence while he's in Kuo. As Izuku couldn't help but freak out, saying, "Supernatural! Wait, are you saying that many ancient legends in both Japan and all across the world are real? And monsters exist as well? But that's in..." Within thinking, but no, wait. That can't be true. Actually, now that I think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense. Certain phenomena all across the world that people basically chopped up to that of superstition and that of urban legends, it could be true. Such as the Loch Ness monster, that could actually be that of a monster, a real monster, possibly even a supernatural being. Maybe that of an ancient creature that's similar to that of a dragon or a dinosaur that's lived for so long and possibly being the guardian of Lake Ness. Then there's Sasquatch. It could be some kind of supernatural creature that's been living in America for so long too. And then there's the Yeti that's been in that of the Alps for so long too. It could be another creature, as Izuku begins to mutter on quite a bit. As Azazel is basically just looking at the kid. To normal people, Izuku's muttering is basically creeped out and kind of disturbing. But to Azazel, who basically lives for that of knowledge, understanding, and also wanting to and basically try to put up all the facts together, he can't help but actually admire this kid quite a bit, letting him ramble on for at least a good 10 minutes. As then Izuku finally comes to each and every realization saying, if you're a fallen angel, then that means devils, angels, and even gods exist, especially the god of Christianity. Oh my god, oh seriously, this is the finding of the century, saying, maybe for you normal beings, but the supernatural has been along longer than even you humans have. Just letting you know. But of course, to you modern folks, this would be the finding of a century. To me, I'm still surprised that the White Dragon Emperor is in that of Devil territory. And once again, it looks like the Satan Sisters slept on that of an important piece that could basically change the tide of everything in the supernatural. Don't you say, White Dragon? Within soon, the wings of a divine dividing basically appear, as then instead of that of the energy-like scaled wings materializing, it's just that of the jeweled scales on Izuku's back, as he's still quite freaked out that it just popped out, saying, "It's been a long time, Governor Azazel, or should I call you Governor General now? Since I'm seeing that since the fallen angels are still around, I'm guessing you're still in charge," saying, in charge here and there. I'm just making sure to keep everything afloat, that's all. As for now, I've been taking a liking to sacred gear users, actually, for at least the past 5 centuries. Came to Kuo because there's quite a bit of sacred gear users in this town. But little did I know the White Dragon Emperor would be in this town as well. Calling me shocked and surprised. Within, Izuku saying, "Wait, White Dragon Emperor? What is that?" "That's you, kid. You're the White Dragon Emperor." As Azazel points at Izuku, saying, "Me?" Within, Albion speaks up once again, saying, "The title of White Dragon Emperor is given to those of my host, not me specifically. I am the White Dragon of Supremacy, who has taken the concept of supremacy from the God of the Bible himself. In a way, the title of White Dragon Emperor is a way for those of my hosts to have that in importance within the supernatural. In a way." Within hearing this, is saying, "So, I'm important to this world now? Like, how important? Because if that's saying, quite important, kid. You wield one of the most powerful Longinus sacred gears," saying, "That's what I want to know about. You did give me the rundown about the supernatural, about your organization, Gogori, otherwise known as the Fallen Angel faction, the devils, angels, alongside that of other pantheons such as the Shinto pantheon, which is part of my homeland, and the many others as well. But you never really went into detail about sacred gears." Within hearing this, Azazel couldn't help but facepalm himself, saying, and I'm considered to be a sacred gear nerd. Of course. Allow me to explain. Sacred gears, what you have, are basically artifacts created by God himself to give humanity at least a chance to fight against the supernatural. As much as my old man can be quite a pain in the ass after all, he and many other gods did see humanity as one of the few races with the greatest potential. So to cultivate that potential, he created that of several sacred gears, considered to be weapons that will allow them to defend themselves against the supernatural. However, there are 13 sacred gears. 13 sacred gears that are considered to be the strongest of the strong. They're otherwise known as the Longinus sacred gears, which your sacred gear, Divine Dividing, is categorized as a Longinus, considered to be that of a mid-level Longinus. And it could reach that of high level given the user though. With it, hearing this, Izuku looking behind him, within Albion saying, The fallen angel speaks the truth, partner. If you could reach a high enough level, I could possibly reach on the same level as those high-tier sacred gears, such as that of Zenith's Tempest, Absolute Demise, and the true Longinus. And given that I was able to sense your bloodline, well, you could probably reach it in no time. With then, hearing that, Azazel couldn't help but stroke that of his small beard once again, saying, Say, bloodline, huh? Tell me, Midoriya. Let you know about that. As Izuku freaking out, basically frantically, shaking his arms around his entire body, saying, I know nothing about that. I don't even know anything about my family history. I live with my mom and my dad, but my dad basically works overseas, actually. My mom's a part-time nurse at the Kuo hospital, actually. So, then, hearing this, Azazel saying, could be an ancient bloodline from either one of your parents. I'll have to figure that out myself for the time being. But, I had to ask, kid, now that you're in the supernatural, what will you do? Within, Izuku wondering, what do you mean? Now that you awaken your sacred gear, especially it being a Longinus sacred gear, you're going to have a lot of people coming after you now. It was most likely some people were after you, especially given that your sacred gear, you had a sacred gear dormant within inside you, of course. But now that it's awakened, sooner or later, the devil's in this territory, alongside possibly a few other rogue aspects, possibly that of yokai and maybe even some stray devils will be coming after you more and more often. Within hearing this, Izuku couldn't help but feel somewhat scared. But on the other hand, part of him also felt excited. Within, as I was saying, there are plenty of ways to get out of this, but normally it's to basically pretend nothing has happened, but you would still be attacked and still have to fight constantly over and over again. Hearing this, Izuku wasn't so thrilled about it. But then soon, as they were saying, your second option is to join a faction. Within, Izuku whining and shocked saying, join a faction? Saying, exactly. For example, you could join Gogori. We're more than just the Fallen Angel faction. We also have that of several humans joining us too. Those we accept those with talent and those who have sacred gears, and little you know, you basically qualify for all two. We've also developed that of a reincarnation system with fallen angels too, but we only use that as that of a last resort in case that a sacred gear user dies in battle. But again, it's a last resort. If you want to become a fallen angel, you're gonna have to die for it. We're not gonna just turn you outright. With then soon Izuku hearing this saying, what about other options? Well, there is the Shinto. They would there are basically the 5 principal clans, but then there's also that of the yokai faction. The 5 principal clans don't allow those who aren't from their bloodline to join. Not only that, they despise sacred gears, mainly because they weren't made by the Shinto. Anything outside of the Shinto is considered heathenish and blasphemous to them. So no chance in hell you're joining them. There are other, Onmyoji families outside of the 5 principal clans, but some of them don't last too long, and they always do their own thing. Plus, I've scouted out this area for literal years now. No, there aren't any, Onmyoji clans here. Within hearing this, Izuku couldn't help but go down, have his head down. You could join the church. They do have a foothold here in Japan, but not in this town. They used to, about that of several years ago. Saying, several years ago. Within, Izuku began to gather up his memories before thinking, during the time when Irina was still here. After she left, the church basically shut down. And it's been abandoned ever since. Could that have been the reason? No. Irina didn't seem like her family was heavily religious, but it didn't seem like it was the reason on why this place shut down. I doubt she'd have anything to do with the supernatural. With Izuku shaking his head. But are there any other? With Azazel stroking his beard once again saying, there were a few towns and cities that have the church involved, but let's just say they're not really important. They're going to be far away, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to basically drop out of school just to join the clergy, am I right? With then Izuku saying, how about not? Well, there's also another option here. You had to join. The devils own this town. With saying, wait, the devils? And aren't you trespassing, Azazel-san? Saying, I am, but don't worry. I'm suppressing my magic quite a bit. Especially my fallen angel side. As long as I keep this basically suppressed, I'm good to go. But, like I said, the devils own this town. The rulers are that of the Grimry and Citri families. So, if you feel like it, I can basically introduce you to them if need be. So, what's it gonna be, kiddo? With then, Izuku basically checking up all of his options before basically thinking to himself. As then Albion speaking up saying, what do you wish, partner? Whatever choice you decide, I will follow. It's not... But what about your own opinions? I want to hear what you have to say, Albion. Saying, you're asking for my opinion? With then Izuku nodding mentally, saying, of course. You and I are basically tied together now. Anything I need to do, I should ask for your help as well. I mean, you have a lot more experiences with so many hosts, right? But then Albion actually downright shocked and surprised as none of his hosts, only a few times, they only ask for advice when it comes to battle or when it comes to using dividing, but they never really asked for help when it came to choosing a side or deciding how they should move forward with their life. Izuku, on the other hand, had to be the first of all. With then Albion internally laughing, saying, you really are an interesting one, Izuku. I gotta say, you really are truly a partner, one of a kind I've ever met. Alright then, I'll give you my opinion. It's only my opinion. You can choose to follow it or not. Within Izuku wanting to hear, as then Azazel realized that Izuku went quiet, possibly speaking with Albion, as he thinking, I knew when Barricade told me that I would be interested in this kid, he wasn't joking. Quite analytical, and besides the sacred gear alone being that of dividing, and him being this generation's White Dragon Emperor, he could be that of a symbol that would change the tides of not just that of the 3 factions' Cold War, but possibly the supernatural entirely. Whatever his hidden blood is, of course. I'll just have to keep it on the side for now. I'll wait until what the kid have to say. If he joins Kogori, well, as he begins to think about the several sacred gear users, especially that of 3 sacred gear users that are in Kogori, I'll just have to wait and see what he has to say. Within Izuku coming to his senses as he nods his head before looking back at his Azazel saying, Azazel-san, I've come to a decision. Oh, what's that? Will you train me? Train me on how to use that of my sacred gear and magic. And teach me more about the supernatural as well. I don't want to join at least any faction just yet. But if I get to know you, maybe I will join Gagori in time. Please, help me. With then Izuku basically going down to his knees and bowing his head all the way to the ground. With then soon Albion speaking, saying, lowering your head to somebody beneath you, Izuku, especially with me on your back, is quite disgust me, but I can understand the reason why you're doing this, so I'll let it slide for now. Just don't make a habit out of doing it all the time, partner. With then Azazel hearing this, as he couldn't help but snicker a bit before it goes into full-blown laughter as he continues laughing over and over again. Oh God, this is something else. So you don't want to join any faction, but you do want to have that of training. All right, I can work with that. I'll let you know that I come to this town at least that of 2 times a week. So every time when I show up, I'll train you. And if there are times when you still want to get trained, but I'm not available, within soon pulling out that of his phone before saying, "Hand me your number." As Izuku, confused before pulling out his phone, as he tells Azazel his number, within Azazel basically sending him 2 phone numbers, saying, "Call these numbers in case that I can't get involved with you. I'll tell them what's up as well." So, I hope you're prepared. Training, when it comes to training in the supernatural, it can be either grueling, intense, or straight up hell. Let's see what you're able to handle. With that, Izuku couldn't help but say, Thank you, Miss Azazel-san," saying, "Don't mention it, kid. Just show me what this current generation's White Dragon Emperor can do." After that, soon, Azazel saying, "Now, you should get going. Also, you should probably find a way to suppress that dragonic aura of yours and magic power. I let you know I've been feeling it almost all this time, and it's pretty overwhelming." Within Izuku blinking, as then Albion speak up saying, "He's right, partner. Your magical power has been leaking this entire time. I was wondering how long you were going to notice." As Izuku wondering on how to shut it off as he's freaking out. Before then, both Albion and Azazel give him that of instructions. To suppress his power, he has to think calm and rationally. Think about something that basically keeps him calm and rational. With then, Izuku begins to think, as he begins thinking about the comic books he reads of that of Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, and Iron Man, and about the deeds that they do as heroes. With then soon calming himself down, as then soon Azazel begins saying, Nice. Just keep thinking about those thoughts, and your power will be good. As for your sacred gear, you should just think about it on and off again, and you should be it should be working." With then saying, then Albion saying, "I'll give you a better conclusion. When you think of me, what do you think of? What do you think of using me for?" With then, so Izuku begins to think, as he begins thinking about the time when he wanted to save that boy, the time when he probably wanted to use dividing to fly up and help him and save the day, but couldn't. But now, when soon he thinks of it, the energy like wings finally fully materialize. Is then saying, "Whoa!" Is then thinking once again, the wings disappear alongside the scaled back as well. As then Izuku couldn't help but be shocked and surprised, saying, "This is amazing." With then, as he's saying, "You're a quick learner, kid. This won't be a waste of my time." Well, it wasn't going to be a waste of my time anyway, given who you are. So, get going, kid. It's still pretty late, and don't you still got school? With then Izuku saying, "Right. Oh, also, about the guy that I saved saying, don't worry. On my way there, I saw a kid basically running as far as he can, screaming, monster, monster. I used that of my memory magic to wipe his memories. He'll remember a thing about that devil or about you saving him. Within hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but look down a little bit somberly, knowing that even though the guy abandoned him, he would at least feel thankful knowing that he saved somebody, but just knowing that Izuku just helped him enough is good enough for him. Before switching back to a smile and then saying, alright, thank you, Azazel. Azazel-san. Saying, alright, I'll let you know the next time I'm back in town. I'll be busy for tomorrow, so whatever you can do, learn how to handle that sacred gear of yours, alright? Just don't be going around flying all willy-nilly. After all, people freak out knowing that basically a 13-year-old kid was able to fly around pretty easily. Hearing that, Izuku was actually about to do that, but then Albion saying, you really were planning on flying around the city like that, weren't you? Saying, don't judge me. I always wanted to fly like a hero. With then Azazel noticing the red cheeks on Izuku as he couldn't help but laugh, saying, oh man, kid, you really are a riot. Alright, like I said, get going. After that, after feeling no longer embarrassed, Izuku finally heading back home. Couple days have now passed, and Izuku has not just been doing his own training, but also been training with that of Azazel. Azazel's been giving him that of tutors and pointers on how to use his sacred gear properly, alongside that of Albion. Albion has taught him that he can't just half in a person's power and strength as well. He can also add it to his own too. He can even, not only that, he even learned on how to absorb people's magical attacks and halving it and add it to his own strength as well. But there's a limit on how much he can basically half in. If it's an attack that's way too powerful, even for dividing, given Izuku's current strength, then Izuku will still take the brunt of the attack, even if it is a half an attack as well. So it means that Izuku needs to learn on how much people's attacks he can half in, and how much his body can absorb as well. To Izuku, it basically shows that he needs to pick his battle wisely and improve himself on the fly as well. He even creates that of several notebooks that basically show his progress with his sacred gear. Turns out he can use that of the scales, the energy-like scaled wings of dividing as that of projectiles, thanks to Albion actually. But however, if he does this, it also takes away for the chance of him dividing a person's attack if they come close to him. That's why it's mainly used as that of a long-range weapon to keep people off him, while giving him time to basically think of a plan to counter a person's attacks as well. Azazel also told him about a Sacred Gear's most powerful trump card, or the glitch in the Sacred Gear system that the God of the Bible never really bothered fixing, actually, otherwise known as the Balance Breaker system. With Izuku curious about what a balance breaker is, as Azazel basically says that balance breakers are basically the ultimate attack and power of a Sacred Gear. However, it depends on that of the user. Unlike that of the Longinus Sacred Gears, which are basically one of a kind, there are common variety Sacred Gears that are basically the same power. However, depending on the user, it can have that of different aspects of it. Like, for example, a Sacred Gear known as that of Blade Blacksmith. Basically a Sacred Gear that allows the user to create that of Holy Swords. They can basically, their balance breaker could be something like that of creating one giant ass powerful blade of light, or possibly creating that of multiple Holy Swords as that of an ultimate projectiles as well. Once again, it depends on that of the user. For Izuku, he was curious about Dividing's balance breaker, wondering on what took the form of it, as it's always the same depending on its user, the scale mails. However, just like any other user dividing, and that of its sister sacred gear tied to that of the rival of the White Dragon Emperor, the Red Dragon Emperor, and wielder of the boosted gear, also has that of a scale male as well. But once again, the properties of a balance breaker can change depending on the user. Hearing all of this, Izuku needed to think wisely about when he awakens his balance breaker. With then Albion saying, "You're close, actually, partner." With Izuku completely caught off guard. Really? Yes, actually. You're close to basically awakening your balance breaker, but you need a moment, a trigger to do so. However, there is a way to basically allow you the balance breaker in the easy way, but it's also a risky way as well. Within Izuku curious saying, "What is it?" Offering a part of your body to me. Any part. It can be basically an arm, a leg, or even an organ, and I can basically turn it into that of a dragon, making a part of you that of a dragon. However, it's basically a limb or a piece of your body, though, on the outside, like an arm or a leg or even your back. Well, that appendage will no longer be human. It will basically look like that of a piece of the balance breaker. With then, hearing this, Izuku was completely caught off guard and shocked about this, before shaking his head saying, "How about we use that as a last resort and not do anything crazy with it?" With then, hearing this, as Albion couldn't help but basically smirk saying, "Wise choice, partner." Within, Izuku telling Azazel this saying, "Good choice for you as well. Don't offer anything to your sacred gears just yet. Just because you get that of a momentary boost of power doesn't mean that it's always helpful. Some people do find ways and loopholes about giving up certain parts of their body to their sacred gears, but it's still risky. The cost is always too greatly to cost. I'm not a big fan of basically changing one's aspect of them just to gain extra power." With then hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but feel somewhat, worried at that from Azazel's words. As for the days that when Azazel isn't around, or when Izuku does need to get training, let's just say he finally realized about those other contacts. The first contact being a certain man that Izuku knows all too well, waiting at the exact same place that's where him and Azazel always trained at the outskirts of Kuo. Within soon, hearing that of wings flapping, saying, Mr. Azazel, or, within Izuku's eyes widening in shock and freaking out, as seeing that of a man wearing that of a brown cloak. However, the face of that person is what he knows all too well, as he has that of a pretty gruff appearance, beard, and his eyes constantly closed. This being Mr. Hamejima. With then Izuku freaking out saying, "Mr. Hamejima, you're a fallen?" Yes, Midoriya, I am a fallen. Sorry to keep it a secret, but I didn't think it was necessary for the time being. With then saying, "So, are you some kind of spy for Mr. Azazel here in his territories?" Saying, "What? No, I'm not really a spy at all. Just here to keep an eye on somebody, that's all." With then, Izuku wondering, as he then had the flashback about a couple months back, about that of Mr. Hamejima saying about his daughter, saying, "Your daughter's at Kuo. You did say you're basically estranged from her, so, and is she half fallen?" Yes, but there are other things about her I rather not say. With then soon Izuku saying, "Okay, sir," as everything got pretty quiet before Mr. Hamejima spoke up once again saying, "Now then, allow me to truly introduce myself, Midoriya. My real name is that of Barrakill. As for Hamejima, that is my name as well, but it's my last name. My wife's name, actually. With then Izuku saying, your last name? Oh, right. I'm guessing angels, fallen angels, don't really have, well, for last names, would they? Saying, there is no need for them after all. When we were once in heaven, our Father just gave us our names. Simple as that. Now then, unlike that of Azazel and your sacred gear, I will teach you on how to use your magic abilities. Actually, with then Izuku saying, "Wait, really? I never really know on what kind of magic I could use." So saying, "Don't worry, I'll see what you are capable of." As for your magical power itself, it's quite abundant, even for somebody of your age. Must be that mysterious heritage of yours that Azazel told me about, and that I could feel as well. I just can't put my finger on it. With then, soon, Barrakill shaking his head saying, irrelevant. Now then, as then, soon, lightning begins to channel across that of Barrakill. As then, he creates that of a barrier to keep everything safe, saying, now show me what you are capable of, Izuku Midoriya. As then he creates that of a light spear made out of holy lightning. Within throwing it towards Izuku. Within Izuku, first instinct was to dodge out of the way before creating that of dividing. As then Izuku rushing towards Barrakill in that of full speed. However, he soon dodges his punch without even breaking a sweat. As then, soon, he basically chops Izuku on his back without even using that of a light spear, saying, you're fast, but not fast enough to basically catch me off guard. If I have to get, just by a good question of you, you have quick reflexes. You're also quick-footed as well. With then Izuku getting up, still wincing in pain, saying, what is that to say? With then, Barrakill goes into detail, saying, unlike that of the Devil's Bloodline magic, which their magical power ties to that of their blood, and to that of their family clans, other people who use that of certain types of magic, even us fallen angels, had to figure out what type of magic we have based on our personality, our body types, and that of our skills alone. From your skills, you're quite quick-footed. You have great reaction time and speed, and you're aware of your weaknesses. But you make up with it with trying to overwhelm your foes with quick and precise strikes. Even from that one sparring session, I can tell how you fight, Midoriya. Within Izuku completely and utterly caught off guard. Within Albion saying, he's right. That is your fighting style to a T, even though you don't even have much of a fighting style at all. With then hearing that, Izuku couldn't help but blush a bit from being called out about that. With then Barrakill saying, so, my thoughts is, your magical power outside your secret gear, especially an elemental magical power, has to be ranged from that of lightning to wind magic, which is your personal magic, Midoriya. Within hearing this, Izuku couldn't help but be shocked and surprised. Within, Barrakill couldn't help but also smirk, saying, joyous occasion for you, my boy. That means I can basically train you. I'm more proficient in that of lightning magic, but I do dabble a bit in wind magic as well. Helps me improve that of my aiming and strikes as well, when I throw that of my holy light spears. Within saying, wait, now that you mention it, unlike that of Mr. Azazel's light spears, yours feel differently. Saying, makes sense. Unlike many fallen angels have their own specialty, as even angels as well. My specialty was that of holy lightning. I infused my holy lightning magic into that of my light spears, turning them into that of a holy lightning spear. Given that you're human, I'm not sure if I can teach you that of holy magic, but maybe I can at least try. With then, Izuku can up and say, I'll do what I can, and I'll make sure to do my best. If I'm not that skilled at it or proficient at it, then I'll drop it. and focus on what I can do. Saying, not not too much of an overachiever, and is aware of his shortcomings if he finds any. Smart. All right then, boy. Let's see what you can do. For the next couple of days and weeks now, Barrakill basically tutors Izuku how to use that of magic. Wind magic comes pretty well to Izuku, even that of lightning magic. However, when he starts to use that of holy lightning magic, it shows that Izuku can use it. Surprisingly, if anything, it's kind of terrifying, to be honest, that he could use holy lightning magic. But he's just not as proficient in it as with that of normal lightning and wind magic. Hell, he even tried to use that of holy wind magic, but that backfired 100%. And let's just say, Izuku needed to explain on why he had a broken arm. To not just his mom, but also to his peers, and to Aka, who basically wanted to make one big ass masturbation joke. But after at least that of a week of healing, he was able to get at least a better feel of of how to use magic through that of his sacred gear, dividing, using that of wind magic to increase that of his flying speed and to increase that of his to his turns as well, to keep people off of him too, even using that of wind magic to deflect certain attacks. As for basically, wind magic's more used to amplify his speed and basically focus more on defensive magic and attacks as well. As for lightning magic, which he uses for his go-to for that of offensive attacks and to deal more damage with his own attacks as well, with his own physical attacks as well, to increase that of damage when he absorbs when he halvens a person's power and absorbs it to himself. He won't lie that it does cause a bit of a strain and it does increase the amount of power he absorbs too, but it's always worth it if he's able to deal more heavier damage. As for Holy Lightning, that's a whole other story. Unlike that of Barrakill, who's able to manipulate his Holy Lightning perfectly to create that of weapons, Izuku, on the other hand, is only able to use Holy Lightning to send that of blast of attacks after attacks. Not even able to basically channel it a lot more easier, unlike that of normal lightning magic or that of wind magic. Which means Izuku needs to work a lot more to basically use it, actually. But even so, it's still useful. As Barrakill basically takes care of Izuku, you couldn't help but think, maybe if things were differently, he would be training not just that of Izuku, but also Akino as well, his little girl, as all he can do is basically watch over her from a distance, as a simple bookstore owner, too ashamed to see her or even talk to her. If only his late wife could see his pitiful self now, as he thinks that's how he thinks of himself. With that, Barrakill finally puts an end to Izuku's training, and basically does his own thing once again. Besides looking after Grigori, while also keeping an eye on his daughter at Kuo Academy as well. As for Izuku's training with Azazel, it basically goes back, with now seeing on the improvement that he uses with that of with his magical abilities alongside his sacred gear. Let's just say things are a lot more better now. And even Azazel couldn't help but be impressed. It's only been that of 5 months since he basically now has a better control over his sacred gear. And Azazel can't help but like on how much Izuku has improved. However, there is another However, he realized that Izuku doesn't really have much when it comes to fighting. All he does is basically try to punch people, tries to straight out clothesline them, or haymaker punches and all that. He does know that Izuku does know a bit of judo, though, which he did use on Azazel when catching him off guard. But other than that, that's all he does. Izuku doesn't have that of a traditional fighting style, which Azazel realized that the last person that he wants to call is the best person to help him develop Izuku's own fighting style. On the next for next month, Azazel and Izuku began to train once again. However, As they arrive, they soon notice that of another person. That's of a young man, somebody that seems to be that of a high schooler, but possibly maybe older as well. As this young man has that of dark black hair, brown eyes, and also having that of a casual but also caring smile on his face. With then soon Izuku saying, Mr. Azazel-san? Who's that? Saying, the other guy who I basically told you to call. I decided to call him myself. You really do need some help when it comes to developing your own fighting style, kid. Within Izuku gulping a bit, as then the mysterious individual saying, Yo, Azazel, surprised that you called me here, actually. I told you I'm no longer with Kogori, so saying, sorry about this, Tobio, but I really do need your help, kid. Within Izuku, curious about this guy, within Azazel saying, Izuku Midoriya, meet Tobio IQs. He's a Longinus Sacred Gear user just like you, and his Longinus Sacred Gear is Canis Linkio, the Black Blade. With then Izuku completely caught off guard saying, you're a Sacred Gear user just like me? Saying, so you're this generation's White Dragon Emperor. I heard Azazel basically wouldn't shut up about you. But I'm guessing he's been bugging you quite a bit about your Sacred Gear. What then? Izuku saying, none of the sort. He's actually helped me out quite a bit. If anything, I'm really thankful for his tutelage and thankful for you taking your time out of helping me as well. As Izuku bowed his head. With then, Tobio couldn't help but be caught off guard saying, wow, this kid is really too friendly. I was expecting him to be like an arrogant brat. Within, soon, Tobio saying, I know. I thought he would be arrogant too. I guess we can change a lot of expectations. With then, Izuku confused saying, who are you talking to? With then, Tobio saying, oh, right, sorry. I'm guessing you're still new to the supernatural. Within, soon, a shadow begins to emerge from that of Tobio. As it becomes huge, and I mean huge, as then red eyes begin to glow straight at Izuku, within that of a roar, that of a growl coming from it too, as Izuku freaking out saying, is that a giant wolf? With then, Azazel couldn't help but smirk looking at Izuku's reaction, with Tobio explained, saying, just as your sacred gear has that of the white dragon inside of it, my sacred gear, Canis Linkio, has that of a spirit of a divine wolf. This big guy here is Jin, the spirit of Canis Linkio, with then rubbing that of Jin's ears as he's basically, melting right into it. As soon Izuku saying, whoa, that's amazing! As then, Tobio couldn't help but smirk saying, well then, kid, let's see what you're capable of. As then, pulling out that of a, stick, before then, it extends, and then from the tip of it, it comes that of a scythe. Within Izuku freaking out saying, whoa, is that a... Saying, very good luck. Jin, stay out of this. I want to see what the kid's capable of. As Jin basically wolfs and just basically sits on his hind legs, with then rushing towards Izuku, within Izuku preparing that of divide, using that of the wings to basically block the attack, creating that of a massive shockwave that doesn't knock back either Azazel or Jin. However, then Izuku began hearing that of Albion's voice saying, divide! With then, feeling that of his strength sapping away, he couldn't help but smirk, saying, so this is the power of that of dividing. Interesting indeed. Before then, knocking back Izuku, with then realizing, even though I divide his power, he's still strong enough to knock me back and still has enough energy. I'm guessing this is no joke. With then, soon, Tobio continues to strike at Izuku over and over and over again, However, Izuku either dodges or basically deflects each and every one he attacks with with that of his energy scaled wings, which soon drains away that of Tobio's energy and halvens it. However, even though he's halving it and absorbing it into his own power, Izuku is not doing anything to slow Tobio down. Within soon, Izuku began using that of his magic, as he uses wind magic to create that of circles of wind to create as that of a shield, before then using wind magic to boost himself to gain some distance. As seeing this, Tobio couldn't help but smirk, seeing Izuku's ingenuity for a bit, before then switching to that of his lightning magic, creating that of three thunderbolt spears towards Tobio. Within Tobio, slicing away the thunderbolt spears and knocking them away like it's nothing. With that, he soon creates that of multiple shadow tendrils from the ground. Before then, they soon launch straight at that of Izuku, as Izuku was completely caught off guard, seeing on how far that they're extending, as he creates that of another windshield to basically defend himself, and even using that of his scaled wings to defend himself too, hoping to half the attack, as he didn't think realizing that he didn't think fast enough, the windshields break through, and even they still basically pierce through that of the wings of dividing, knocking Izuku down as he screams. As then landing on the ground, seeing that of the scythe in his face, saying, "You got some pretty good ingenuity there, kid. I'm impressed, Izuku. Truly impressed." With then Izuku caught off guard, but for the spear removing from his face, as then Tobio begins to criticize Izuku, saying, "But I can tell you're trying to use a lot of more long-range attacks and keeping your distance from your foe. Just by looking at you and seeing your capabilities, I can tell you're not a long-range fighter. Far from it. I can tell you're a close-range fighter all the way." With then Izuku completely shocked, saying, "You really think so?" Saying, "Yeah. Even with your body, I can tell that you've been training. You've been slightly growing a little bit of muscle, and with a body type like yours, even though you're short, I can tell you can possibly pack a punch, or rather, a kick as well." With then, Izuku began thinking, saying, "What do you have in mind?" As then, Tobio couldn't help but give that of a friendly and kind smile, as saying, "I'll teach you what I can do." Before looking at Azazel, saying, "Remember, Azazel, you better be paying me for this." Saying, yeah, I get it. Don't worry, you'll be paid for through the time you've been helping out Izuku for at least the next couple of months or a couple months. Saying, I better make sure to tell the others I'm possibly not going to be doing missions for a while with them. Before sighing, saying, "All right, Izuku, show me what you got." As then, both Tobio and Izuku begin spar at least each and every time. And let's just say Izuku gets his ass kicked all the time. Tobio does remove that of the blade from that of his scythe and just uses that of a staff form instead. But even so, it's kind of a pain in the ass. With Tobio giving Izuku many advices that he just uses that of punches, and did tell him to try and switch it up with a few kicks. Within, Izuku taking this to heart, but he doesn't know a perfect rhythm to use his kicks though, given on how difficult it can be to use your legs in fighting, especially since punches and all other attacks come from the legs after all. With Tobio quite impressed with Izuku's knowledge of the body, as then giving him quite a bit of advice especially from certain people who also uses that of hand-to-hand combat, especially a member of his team, of course. Izuku began to look through certain fighting styles that could help him with not just with punching, but also mainly kicking as well. As then, he finds two fighting styles that can help him with kicking, that being that of Taekwondo and Capoeira, actually, with seeing Knowing these two fighting styles could help Izuku, Tobio basically gives him links to videos and also brings at least a few books for him to learn. With this, he begins to learn that of the basics of capoeira and the basics of taekwondo as well. And let's just say, Izuku's fighting abilities began to drastically improve and over that of several weeks. When Tobio and Izuku spar once again, Izuku was basically moving around the battlefield quickly without even breaking a sweat, as not just only trying to deal with that of punches or infusing his magic as well, but with several kicks that even keep that of Tobio off guard, even though he's basically holding back, because of course this is just sparring and training Izuku. But for Izuku, he's improved quite a bit with incorporating that of flips and that of low sweep kicks into that of his fighting style. With that, Tobio couldn't help but be quite impressed with Izuku's improvement. And not just him, even Azazel, within sensing that of Izuku's abilities, realizing, it's only been it's almost half a year, and yet he's already close to that of a high-class being, almost hitting the threshold to that of ultimate. Impressive. Quite impressive as well, Izuku. With then, Azazel couldn't help but say, "Thanks, Tobio. I really do appreciate all you've done for the past 2 months or so." Saying, "Well, I gotta say, Izuku's got a lot of talent. If I brought the others here, I think he would improve quite even more. Possibly to even that of ultimate class." Saying, "So, you've noticed that too?" "Yeah. Whatever, besides having dividing him, whatever his blood is, it's making it's even putting Jin on edge, besides just me. Whatever side that kid joins on, he's going to be definitely a monster. And I really don't want to fight against him once he reaches peak." Within Isaiah saying, "If he reaches his peak. You know how the supernatural is, Tobio." "Yeah, I'm aware. After all, as much as I hate to admit it, I was born in the supernatural." As the two members of Gogori couldn't help but look at Izuku, still practicing, as he gives that of a powerful roundhouse kick that sends that of a shockwave towards that into the forest of the barrier, which cuts through that of several trees. As Izuku couldn't help but have that of an excited and cheerful smile on his face. As now, Izuku, already reaching the peak of high class, is now truly could be a threat to the supernatural. And that's it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Love to read them. So, hope you guys like this chapter, which is mainly that of a quick, training montage chapter, to be honest. As much as I would love to give out more details for each one, let's not waste any more time on that of past chapters when we need to focus more on this story after all. So yeah, as for Izuku's training, yes, he was trained by Azazel to handle that of dividing alongside that of Albion. He was also trained by Barrakill to use that of magic, and yes, he has the ability to use holy lightning magic. If you're going to ask why, I will say this, it's due to his blood. And he was able to develop a perfectly new fighting style, mixing that of both capoeira and taekwondo thanks to Tobio. And yes, this is the first time I'm adding Tobio IQs to that of my DxD fanfics. Expect more, Slash Dog characters outside of that of, my Samurai Heroes fanfic, actually. So yeah, anyway, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell notification key to date my videos when I upload on the channel. Also, please check out my Discord, my gaming channel, my main channel, my other channel, my Patreon, and my Cash App. All link in the description below if I'm not too lazy to do so. So, with all that said, this is Leon Mookie, signing out. Later, guys, and hope you all take care.